Thanks for staying tuned to the window to Africa. On this channel, you get to know what is happening in our beautiful continent, Africa. And on this program, Security Watch Africa, you get to know what is happening in the security sector in Africa. Welcome to your program, Security Watch Africa. My name still remains Patrick Abambo. Today, we'll be bringing you a collection of reports that has to do with security. Particularly this week, we'll be focusing on what's happening in Nigeria. You know that there for the past 10 months now, 10 days now, I will say, sorry, since 1st of August, there have been protests and bad governance protests across the country. It's been, so far, it was violence in some areas, while in some areas it was peaceful. Today, actually, it should be the last day according to the plans of the organizers, the plans that was made. But arising from what happened during those protests where some foreign hands were involved. I can tell you authoritatively that about 7 foreigners were arrested, and and the 7, they are all Poland nationalists and nationals, and they are Poland nationals, and 6 are students who are schooling in Kano, plus one lecturer, also a Polish, and their involvement is being investigated. You could see why there's a widespread of such violence across particularly the northern states where flags of another foreign country, Russia particularly, were being used. The foreign incursion into the affairs is becoming so pronounced and calls for worry. No wonder the whole security forces had to put together a meeting where Security Watch Africa participated, and Elizabeth Tanko brings us this report.
In the spirit of unity and oneness, the head of security forces, agencies and services addressed the public after a brainstorming meeting chaired by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Gwabin Musa. The meeting, which is coming at the wake of the nationwide hashtag End Bad Governance protest, which has resulted to many deaths, destructions and arsons, and is becoming a threat to the peace and security of Nigeria. The Chief of Defense Staff, in his opening remarks, spoke on the dangers this protest posed to the socio-political stability of Nigeria.
We know Nigeria is challenged, especially with the riots ongoing, but we're happy that people have seen reason that members of the armed forces and security agencies are working in synergy for the good of Nigeria. None of us is interested in anybody being killed, anybody being injured, anybody being prosecuted, except those that have crossed the line. And so this is an opportunity to show this, that we're working as a team in line with the mandate of Mr. President.
While speaking on the use of foreign flags during the protest, the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Ebetokun, disclosed that the police has arrested some foreigners and some protesters while they are on the trail of their sponsors.
After the address of Mr. President on Sunday, tension doused. Peaceful protesters heeded the call of Mr. President to embrace dialogue. But we still have in few states, in Kano, Kaduna, Katsina, and Bauchi State, group of people who started subversive campaign, waving flags of other countries and openly calling for military takeover of government. This is not a protest, but an offense of treason. The Nigerian police has arrested a number of them, and they will be dealt with accordingly.
The Comptroller General of Nigerian Immigration Service, CGI Kemi Nandap, spoke on the watch listing of some persons who are outside the country but inciting the protesters.
Some of these people who are actually in diaspora, we have a number of them who are actually instigating this mayhem that we're seeing right now. What we've done is we've had them on our watch list, and they've been watch listed. We have them on our radars, and we're making sure that any attempt they make to come into the country will notify the necessary authority. And we're working closely, of course, with the NIA and DSS, of course, and the NSA's office.
On their part, the Director of Public Relations and Strategic Communications, Dr. Peter Afunaya, who represented the Director General, Alhaji Yusuf Bichi, gave assurance that the service is on track and will do anything to protect the country.
We have continued to map our strategies to ensure whether at this level or at any other level, to ensure that any person who is involved in outright display of anarchy and chaos in the nation must be brought to book. For us, we will continue to do what is needful in line with our obligations. We will procure adequate intelligence, disseminate the same to appropriate authorities, and act as we should in line with international protocols and the constitution of the nation as may be relevant.
Elizabeth Anko, reporting for Security Watch Africa, Abuja.
Welcome back. Still there from that meeting, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, spoke on what the Nigerian Army is poised to keep doing. Sit back. Shuli Danes brings us the report.
In response to a number of violent protests that broke out in some parts of Nigeria, the heads of security forces, agencies and services held a meeting at the Defense Headquarters in Abuja. After the meeting, they briefed Nigerians on the state of the country. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, pledged that the Nigerian Army will remain loyal to the constituted authority of the country, while reminding Nigerians of the sacrifices made in 1999 when Nigeria moved from military to democratic government.
We have witnessed wanton destruction of properties, loss of lives, and even stretching the insecurity in our nation to the point of treason and subversion. The troops of the Nigerian Army have addressed this situation on case-by-case basis in conjunction with other security agencies. I want to, on behalf of the officers and soldiers of the Nigerian Army, state unequivocally that the Nigerian Army stand assured in defense of our democracy, of our peace, of our harmony, and we are not going to shift ground on that. Our return to democracy in 1999 as a nation cost us blood and treasure. So my appeal to youths is that what we have witnessed in the past 5 days is an investment, needless investment of blood, of treasure, calling for an unconstitutional change of government. The Nigerian Army will not sit by and watch the nation slide into anarchy. Accordingly, the troops of the Nigerian Army will continue to work in conjunction with other security agencies in the population space to maintain law and order. I want to appreciate the press for reports that we have received on the performance of our troops so far since the outbreak of this nationwide protest that's turned into riots. We have taken into account your reports. We have used them to streamline the performance of our troops, and we will even inculcate them into our doctrine.
I want to thank the youths. I want to thank the generality of Nigerians. I want to thank the media that since the break of day today, since 0600 hours, the reports from across the nation is that we have returned back to a palpable state of peace and security. And I believe going forward, we will continue along that trajectory. So I seek for the understanding of the media, the youths, the generality of Nigerians to continue to support our troops as they work with like-minded Nigerians to ensure that peace, law, and order reign in our country.
With this in mind, it is expected that the call for military intervention and allegation that the military is interested in taking over governance of Nigeria should be put to rest. Shirley Daniels, Security Watch Africa.
Yeah, the arrest of those foreign nationals who participated in the riot, like the Chief of Defense Staff call it, is actually condemnable. I know that there are a lot of pressures for the release of those people to their country, but I believe that the Nigerian government and the security agencies would do the needful and ensure that we do not have foreign incursions into this country, Nigeria. Yes, but you see, but in Lagos, there was a kind of calmness and peace in spite of people coming out there, trooping out to express their grievances against the government, and against the policies of government. The Commissioner of Police in Lagos State ensured that he interacts with protesters, moves from point to point, talking with them and ensuring that everybody keep to laws and no violence. Sit back as we bring you this report again from Elizabeth Tanko, as Security Watch was also in the trip. Sit back.
The nationwide #EndBadGovernance protest is expected to end August 10, 2024, according to the schedule released by the protest organizers. Before the commencement of the protest, all projections and analysis point to Lagos State as the epicenter of the protest. Working with available intelligence and directives from the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Ebetokun, the Lagos State Police Command, under the leadership of CP Adegoke Fayoade, fine-tuned their crime-fighting and crowd control strategies and engaged relevant human and material resources. After charging the joint team drawn from security forces and services in the state, the Commissioner of Police proceeded to address a crowd of protesters who had gathered at Underbridge in Ikeja, where he encouraged them to comply to the order of the court.
Don't have anything with the protesters. Leave them. It is we, the police, that have interaction with them and protect them.
The CP moved to the police air wing of Murtala Muhammed Airport, where he boarded helicopter for air surveillance of the state. After the surveillance, he commenced ground patrol of points of interest. On arrival at the Lagos State House in Alausa in Ikeja, another set of protesters he met on ground were encouraged to obey the court order and proceed to any of the two designated parks for their protest.
Here in our midst, we have the Commissioner of Police for Lagos State. He is here to assure us that the police are with us.
CP Fayoade moved to the Gani Fayowemi Park, which is one of the designated spots for the protest. The notorious Lekki toll gate was his next point of call, where the area commander briefed the Commissioner of Police of the situation on ground. Throughout the days of the protest, it is obvious that the strategies of the Lagos State Police Command towards ensuring violent-free protest was effective, as the state recorded peaceful protests, with most of the protesters complying to the order of the court. Elizabeth Thanko, reporting for Security Watch Africa.
Welcome back. Yes, with the wave of coups and counter-coups in the sub-region, West Africa particularly, the Chief of Defense staff of the region always have a meeting. This time around, Nigeria being the chairperson hosted. There's our Nigeria Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, hosted his colleagues, where they looked at the need to ensure that democracy is defended in the region. Sit back as again Elizabeth Patanko brings us the report from the Defense Headquarters.
With the spate of political turmoil, coup and counter-coup happening in some West African countries, the Nigerian Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has advised the Chiefs of Defense Staff in the region to do everything legally possible in promotion of democracy in their countries. He made this call at the 42nd Ordinary Meeting of the Economic Community of West African States ECOWAS Committee of Chiefs of Defense Staff hosted in Abuja, Nigeria.
As democratic countries, we, the military, must uphold democratic values in line with our various constitutions. I'm also optimistic that this meeting will assist us to prevent such abnormalities while strengthening our collective resolve to bring about peace and sustainable development to our region.
General Musa, who is the chairman ECOWAS Chiefs of Defense Staff Committee, highlighted the complexity of security landscape in the region and called for collaboration.
The complexity of the security landscape demands that we leverage our collective expertise, share intelligence, and coordinate our efforts across borders if we must solve these challenges. Thus, collaboration is paramount and imperative to address both the root causes and symptoms of insecurity in our region. It is on this premise that the agenda for this meeting was carefully crafted to focus on critical areas and building from our previous engagements.
The meeting, which had in attendance senior military officials from ECOWAS member states, was attended by Nigeria's Minister of Defense, Honorable Mohammed Badaro, who urged members to come out with measures of confronting security challenges in their countries.
This meeting is particularly apt considering the evolving security paradigms and the emerging threats that confront us. You will all agree with me that we are currently faced with various levels of security threats in our dear region, which requires concerted and unified response. With this in mind, it becomes obvious that it is only through our collective strengths and shared expertise that we can effectively address those issues and work towards long-lasting solutions.
In his remarks, the Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, ECOWAS Secretariat, Ambassador Abel Fatou Musa, stressed the importance of hosting the meeting now.
The second meeting was inevitably delayed as a result of the acute political development that occurred in the region, including the cascading coups and the announced withdrawal of the alliance of the Sahelian states from our community. These developments required extraordinary political interventions, which obliged the Commission to pivot towards extraordinary sessions of the committee at the expense of holding at least one ordinary meeting per annum.
Opening day of the meeting witnessed some officials of Nigerian government making contributions on the way forward for peace in ECOWAS member states. The 3-day meeting came to a close this Friday after members had deliberated on critical issues affecting their countries and visited the Nigerian Counter-Terrorism Center. At the closing ceremony, Ambassador Abel Fatou Musa, who is the Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, ECOWAS Secretariat, appreciated the government and people of Nigeria for a successful hosting of the meeting.
The chair of the ECOWAS authority is His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and he graciously provided us all the facilities to make sure that we had very fruitful and comfortable deliberations. And once again, Nigeria has demonstrated its commitment, to West Africa's integrity, West Africa's governance processes, and West Africa's security. Nigeria has always been at the forefront, and we are so happy. We are just coming from a courtesy call on His Excellency, and we are proud to have him as the chair of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of ECOWAS for a second year running. And that demonstrates the confidence his peers, the other heads of state and government of our region, the confidence that they have in him.
In his closing remark, the committee chairman, General Christopher Musa, reiterated the need for member states to protect democracy in their state, while still stretching the olive branch to 3 member states who exited the regional body in protest.
Our commitments to the pledge remain key and will require our words to be backed by action. Nevertheless, I have no doubt in my mind that we will not renege on our promises. I'm confident that the incredible ideas and novel solutions provided will undoubtedly enhance our individual and collective capacity to confront and surmount contemporary and futuristic security challenges. We regret the absence of our colleagues from Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. You can see from the table that they have been invited, their flags are flying, but their seats are empty, to show the entire world that we are not enemies. We are brothers, and we look forward to when they will come back safely into ECOWAS.
The collective resolve for the defense of democracy received a rousing approval of members at the meeting. Elizabeth Thanko, reporting for Security Watch Africa, Abuja.
Yeah, welcome back. We'll move over to the naval headquarters, where Security Watch Africa Shuli Daniels witnessed the decoration ceremony of some of the officers that had worked hard and deserved their promotion. Sit back as she brings you this report.
There is no doubt that hard work pays off. This is the fate of the 19 Master Warrant officers, now Naval Warrant officers, who were promoted and decorated this week at the Naval Headquarters. The Chief of the Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, who was represented by the Chief of Policy and Plans, Rear Admiral Joseph Akpan, noted why the officers were promoted and urged them not to relent in their new ranks.
No promotion, first of all, they said, comes from God. So I want you to see it as an act of God, that God has counted you worthy. Amongst your colleagues whom you started, you know that many of them might have fallen along the way. And even those who are still in service, not all of them were counted worthy to be elevated to this particular enviable rank. It is because of your hard work, commitment, dedication to duty, and more importantly, unblemished record of service. Because if you have been known to be disciplined in any way, most likely you will not be seated here today. And I think it's something for you to be proud of.
Vice Admiral Ogala used the occasion to appreciate the spouses of the newly promoted officers.
I'd like to specifically and specially acknowledge the families of these newly decorated senior ratings. Thank you, because today is also your day, because you've weathered the storm.
In his vote of thanks on behalf of the newly promoted officers, Naval Warrant Officer Philip Shishi pledged to make good use of their promotion.
We are aware that higher ranks comes with higher responsibilities. Therefore, we want to assure you that our team shall uphold the sanctity of our new ranks, be more dedicated, dutiful, and continue to be loyal to actualizing the vision of the Chief of the Naval Staff.
Indeed, people don't get promoted for doing their jobs really well. They get promoted by demonstrating their potentials to do more. Shuli Daniels, Security Watch Africa.
Welcome back. yes, with that report, we'll come to the end of today's episode of this program. If you have enjoyed watching us, you can join us again next week when we'll bring another exciting episode of this program. But before then, follow us on all our social media platforms on X, former Twitter, Facebook. Send us your views on email so that we can respond to you, or join us on all our media so that we can reach back to you. Until when we come away again next week, I say thanks for staying. Bye.